nonstop, right? Why are we allowing these things to fly over our country? Or what are they from? Who's sending them? UFOs, tinfoil stuff? Possibly. It's one thing that sucks about any unidentified flying object story, or if it ever happens to you, is no matter what, if you see what you see, but no matter what, you're going to have people calling you crazy or saying you're full of shit, whatever. But, you know, I got to thinking, I'm like, well, how low are these things flying? I mean, from what I've gathered, doing some reading and watching all the painfully irritating, biased news channels that we have here in the United States, both sides, not just one, um, all over the northern eastern coast, New Jersey, all up in that area. Well, what my whole ordeal with this is, if it's not something from the United States, from a different country, why the hell is it just flying around these things with impunity, for starters? Number two, if it's from a different country that's not from the United States, where are they launching these things off from? Close by or whatnot? We've got all the technology in the world. How are we not catching this shit? Just saying. Uh, I mean, I know they fly low enough. They can keep off a lot of stuff depending on what they are, but I mean, if it's one or two people complaining about it, it's like, oh, okay, well, people see what they see. But then when you have entire cities and towns and shit talking about it nonstop, I think it's something that you might want to dig into. I don't know if you guys remember about 2 years ago, those weather balloons from China that, they were just collecting weather data. They weren't doing anything destructive, that we ended up having to blow up because they were fucking with shit. I mean, I don't know if you guys remember, it was back on my first channel, and I actually have the clip. Uh, I had made this bottle rocket gun. I mean, what I did, basically, I took one of the plastic stocks on one of the training rifles I have for my kids. Got some metal conduit. The rocket can drop down in, and then I installed a barbecue lighter for the trigger on it to light the fuse. I'll have to repost the video of it, but like, I did that one, making fun of that China balloon, and that's what actually got me banned off of TikTok. And, that also happens to be the reason is TikTok is owned by the Chinese. That's another reason why I don't like using it anyways, and I'm glad I stopped. But, I don't know, I thought it'd be funny, go shoot a drone with a shotgun, but, yeah, it's alarming, and it's strange to me that the government doesn't react. And if so many people in the public have seen it and reported it, you can't exactly say it never happened or it's bullshit. It's and the day that the government starts doing that, that's when the people need to rise up and make sure it's running how it should. But I look at it as national security, safety, and treating it like it's a threat, regardless of what it is or who it is, aliens or not. A lot of guys, I don't know if you've ever served in the military. There's two branches that people tend to like to cap on and make fun of and whatnot, and that would be the Air Force and Space Force. I mean, Coast Guard, Navy, well, nah, not too bad. They take the Marines to the fight. Marines, I mean, no infantry on the planet can be nearly as tough as Marines. But so this whole Space Force thing, I was like talking with my wife about it, and what's funny is she can see the finer things so much better than I can on a lot of things as far as detail goes and whatnot. I'm not gonna brag to say I'm like some awesome profiling genius or some shit. I have to give my wife credit where credit's due, But I'm just like, we're at the Veterans Day concert that my kids sing in every year at their elementary school, and they're singing the Space Force anthem, and I look at the Space Force, look at their flag, and it seriously looks like they took it off of Star Trek and used the Star Trek symbol thingy or whatever for Space Force, and I was like, what in the hell's going on here? But my wife and I are talking, and she's like, well, with the UFOs that have actually been declassified, that they've actually finally admitted to, maybe Space Force is something to do with trying to protect Earth. I don't know. It's kind of probably the closest, best answer I've heard as far as Space Force goes. I wish, in like Space Force, there's so small. There's so many few people. I'm not even sure exactly how it works. I would assume automatically you'd have to be you're already in the Air Force at one point or another, and they I don't know, selection process. Who knows? I don't know. I mean, Air Force, they've already got if you want to be PJs or air combat controllers who, they have some pretty nasty training that both of those two special ops groups go through. But then Space Force, is it like a special ops for like super nerdy division? I mean, I don't know, man. It's just odd. But I keep thinking about that. It makes you wonder. Um, but drones, I wish people would shoot them down if they could. I mean, I don't know how high up these things truly are, but I mean, if the government's not going to do it, screw that. Take it in your own hands. I mean, people praise a murderer for murdering somebody, taking it into his own hands. So I don't see what's the big deal about a few people out in, the heartland or whatnot, showing up with some rifles and shooting some drones down if that's all they are. But I don't know. Just blows my mind. And every time there's an election, there's always some sort of large tragic event that either takes place right before it or right after it. And I always just think in my head when I get into conspiracy theories, do they do this shit because there's something bad going on and they're really trying to divert our attention to that way and not look over here where whatever this thing is on this side? I mean, sometimes I feel like that. I feel like because it's the most ridiculous shit. Now, with Trump's first assassination attempt, for instance, that kid, nobody knows, still doesn't know a whole lot about him. I mean, tiny tad bit or whatnot. But right before an election, another assassination attempt type thing going on with a golf course ordeal. And I'm totally against murder, just so you guys know, even Donald Trump or anybody in the United States, as far as I'm concerned. But I don't condone those actions. But it's just like, we don't know shit about that kid. Hey, what's up, Sonny? Thanks for dropping in, man. But then we look at other things happening, like weird drones, or I don't know. It's just incredibly strange and bizarre with COVID. I had noticed there was a lot of weird distraction things going on. Right around when there was that screw up with the withdrawal from Afghanistan. They were trying to keep that one down, I have a feeling. However, it's just, they really screwed those guys, and it's depressing. Very depressing. Hey, we'll just, yeah, President Biden. Oh, yeah, well, you know what? We've been in touch with the Taliban, and they're actually going to cooperate and work with us, and they're not going to hurt or harm any people that are trying to evacuate. Bullshit. Are you that dumb? We've been in the desert fighting for 20 plus years, 20 years by that point, and you're telling me the Taliban are just going to roll up and be like, hey, you guys are leaving now? Okay, we're going to be better now. We're not going to do what we did before prior. Come on, Biden. I mean, it's just like the whole criminals in a gun-free zone thing. Yeah, guys, drop your guns here. Criminals, thanks, you guys too, that means. I mean, it's insane. It's truly insane. But I don't know. That's one of the few things that just pisses me off incredibly about a lot of stuff. It's just that whole thing. There's a very, very sad episode of the Sean Ryan show where there was a Marine pig that was in there who was at that incident, got blown up, and he's only got like half of the one leg. He's missing an arm. And that could have been prevented, but this, I don't know. That type of shit gets me pissed off. It's just like Eddie Gallagher. Anytime anybody talks about the Eddie Gallagher situation, I get so frustrated and pissed off because Eddie Gallagher did everything. He was a hell of a Navy SEAL. He's one of the few Navy SEALs that had ever gone through Marine Sniper School, which is a huge, big deal. I mean, he didn't get his official hog's tooth. Yeah, son, he truly is, dude. Um, Eddie Gallagher, though, of course, he couldn't have the actual hog's tooth. And for who you guys are that don't know about Marine culture, they have the Scout Sniper program, which is now phasing out. It's a selection process. It's vigorous training. It's pretty rough and tough. Now, it's not quite MARSOC, but most of the guys that go to Sniper end up going over to Marine Recon or head on over to MARSOC, being a raider and whatnot. But like Eddie Gallagher, though, being a SEAL, and getting that, because he was a naval corpsman before you went to his training classes and everything, according to his book. And his book is awesome, by the way, if you guys like reading. It's Man in the Arena, and his side of the story, his wife. And I gotta hand it to you guys, his wife is one of the most dedicated women to her husband I've ever heard of, as far as being on the news and crap like that. I mean, she was calling congressmen, she was doing everything, man. Eddie Gallagher's lucky to have a wife, man, that wanted to get him out. I mean, but they railroaded him, and he's a hell of a guy, man. I mean, hell of a sailor. There's launchers called Javelins, and from my understanding, he was one of the few people that knew how to operate that effectively or something along that line, as far as with the rest of his platoon or whatever. There's pictures of him launching them, and they're badass. They're a lot of fun, but it's frustrating. And then I feel bad for Daniel Penny now. I mean, like I said earlier, this is a dude who had a immaculate record as far as his time while he was on active duty in the Marine Corps. His platoon sergeant, I can't remember which rank, which NCO of his, but had nothing but good stuff to say about him. This kid's just on the train going regular day. Some weirdo comes on threatening to kill people. He's going to prison. This kid, the guy goes to attack him. The kid puts him in a headlock. They're scuffling around. The death occurred, but it's just like people are turning it into a race situation when it's not. There was nothing whatsoever ever mentioned from Daniel Penny, any racial slurs, any negativity, anything like that whatsoever. It was him straight up just defending, and that was it. His interview case, if you guys are bored and you don't like books on tape or anything like that, go ahead and get that one. I mean, look at the case and everything along that line, and look at his interviews. I mean, how he talks and everything along the line like that. That is exactly how that he wasn't the aggressor and just out to harm somebody. And on top of it, no weapons, no nothing. I mean, he wasn't planning on anything whatsoever. So it just blows my mind that people think, he just cold-blooded murdered this guy. And, on top of that, he's just this vicious Marine or whatever, all sorts of crap like that. And now it's a racist thing. But, I don't know. He was acquitted. I feel bad for him, because the rest of his life he's going to have people just trying to, for starters, endangered. Because they want black vigilantes because they're accusing him of being a white vigilante or whatnot. I call it self-defense, not being a vigilante, but hey, whatever, small world or whatnot. But, it's just... There was also another incident, I can't remember if it was 2 or 3 years ago. There was a bunch of Marines down on a beach or something along that line, and there was a group of 15, 16, 20 or 15-year-olds or something like that, and they assaulted the Marines. One of them was in a coma. I can't remember the whole story, I'll have to bring it up, but that's another one that pisses me off. And people were cheering about the Marines getting jumped by a bunch of teenagers. And I'm just thinking, that's so backward ass, man. Just like the killing of the CEO. I mean, whatever he did that was bad enough for him to get shot, I really wish that we'd find out someday, but I have a feeling we never will. But murdering him, exposing him for what he was. Murdering him, I don't believe, was the answer for it. He should be held, in trial, accountable under our system. But then again, you can like somebody who uses a gun to murder, but you can't like guns in America. You want them taken away because they cause so much violence. So there's the hypocrisy. Love it, liberals. But anyways, I'll close the rant here, guys. More suppressor content, stuff like that coming up. I was just knocking out the history section of it first, and then we'll go over the debunks. Everybody, thanks for watching, listening. Sonny, thank you, sir. Guys, shout out to Sonny. He's always promoting my channel. He's always got great questions, stuff like that. Definitely check him out. You guys have a good evening.